Right. Okay. So we have about 15 people in class. Let's give people a few minutes to join. And in the meanwhile, what we can do is, if we have any questions, if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to talk about those things. And today's plan is really to talk about functions and parameter passing, and we're going to do a whole bunch of experiments. I'll code online, or one of you guys can code online, and then we'll all walk through it. So I think it should be fun. As far as your demos go, tailored demos. I'm not talking about ad hoc, spontaneous demos that you may happen to give today. We'll talk about a few interesting things that you can do and demo in class, and we'll keep that for Thursday. So you'll have tomorrow, all of tomorrow really, to hack up a quick program that that uses some of the concepts that we talk about in class today. And then we can do that on Thursday. But today, let's keep it largely a conceptual discussion as much as possible. And questions and answers largely like that. I think it's much better. And interactive, right? You guys have got to ask. Yeah, Andy's here too. I assume he has to go at 9 o'clock. But next class, if Andy wants to go, he can go demo his code first before the rest of you guys. Right. Okay, so let's start in about 5 minutes at 8:10. And until then, just feel free to entertain yourself, talk to each other if necessary, and then we'll get started. Let me also think about what specific concepts we can cover today that would be cool. We can cover. By the way, is everything else okay? Are things working out for you guys? Are you able to, are these lectures working out? Are you able to march forth in the subject as the pace that, at the pace that you desire? Yeah, is that okay? Is it working out? Are you actually learning good C++ here? C++ that will help you potentially create cool stuff. And not just a C++ that'll help you pass an exam and get something on your transcript saying, hey, I know C++. No, right? That's not the reason why people learn any art, really, right? You don't learn to sing or dance so that, once you know how to do that, you never do that again. Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? So you want to dance, you want to learn to dance because you can dance. And then, so like programming is like that. Any art is like that, any art. Right? So we don't, so it's a means to allow you to express yourself. That's all it is. Any art, you take any art, I think, is just a means to allow you to express yourself. So if you can't express yourself, I think, that is, or if you don't have anything to say about yourself, right? Or if you don't have anything interesting to say, or nothing to express, then it's pretty useless learning anything at all, right? Learning a language, learning to dance, learning to throw pots, learning to act. Everything is useless if you don't know, if you don't have a message, or not a message, if you don't have something to share that is worthy of sharing, then it's all a total, I don't know what you'll get out of it. Maybe you get something out of it. But most of the people who learn something, who go out of their way to learn something, is really for having to find a way to express yourself in a way that the other ways don't allow you to. I think that's what it is. Yeah, you learn to sing because you have, singing allows you to do certain things that maybe ceramics doesn't let you. Right? They're all directed towards your aesthetic sense and your love for form, and that's reflected everywhere. Anytime you do anything, you'll see that love for form reflected in your code. And yeah. All right. There is a post on Slack as well for the book, Absolute C++. Yeah, that book, Absolute C++. Um, Michael actually picked that book when he was teaching. This is, several quarters ago, at least 4 years ago, right? I've been at Foothill for 4 or 5 years now, and Michael retired 5 years ago. Wow. So he used that book, and then and after that, a lot of reps, come and recommend this book and that book. Try to use this one, and I even tried using Zybooks at one point. Zybooks for C++, and I believe that some of the UCs also use Zybooks. But I decided after a while that I'm not such a great fan of the way that Zybooks presents materials to students. Mainly, I wanted to do certain things a certain way, and it was hard to do it with Zybooks. So in fact, I reverted from Zybooks back to Michael's materials, right? I taught with Michael's materials, went to Zybooks, and then went back to Michael's modules, because I'm still to find something that is as good a digest, right? It's really a digest, right? You can't read. If you look at the Savage book, it's like this thick, isn't it? Right? So it'll be silly of me to expect that that I would master that book in 12 weeks. And so what you're looking for is a digest that takes out the essential bits that we need for 2A from that book and presents it in an accessible way. And I searched a long time for that, and then eventually decided that these modules that Michael's wrote, very far-sighted modules, really, because I mean, look at it, they've stood the test of time, and you're still using it and finding it useful, and you're posting in the forums saying, hey, I'm trying out this particular experiment that is discussed in module 4C or 4B or something like that, and people are trying out these experiments, and people are chiming in and then actually learning from it, which I think is the mark of a salient characteristic of well-produced teaching materials. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're reading modules for week 3 now. Yeah. The only thing that I found lacking really was the interactive programming environment that Zybooks brought into the fray. Because Michael's is written for etudes. He wrote these modules for etudes, which is a kind of precursor for all other learning systems out there. Canvas included. Everything else, long before any of these existed, etudes was there because Michael. This was back in the 80s, right? But back in the 80s, when most of you guys weren't even born. 80s, Michael created etudes, and he told me that we didn't even have proper internet then. People who wanted to use etudes, etudes stands for, it's an acronym, education delivery, distance learning, or something like that, right? In those days, in the 80s, people who wanted to use etudes would have to dial in, right? Now you just open your laptop and you're on the internet, right? So in those days, you have to dial in via, a phone line, a modem, to get connected to a server. And and he wrote all his server-side programs in C++, and people still used it at that time. They jumped through hoops to use these modules. So they're invalid. So anyway, where was I going with that? So the Savage book, yeah. So he used the Savage book and he provided a digest, mainly because even though the Savage book was good, I think he was conscious of the fact that there are many students who can't afford it, right? So the Savage book is, I don't know how much it costs. I think it cost upwards of $60, right? So $60 and more. And so he took the trouble to distill it down into modules that he just provided for free. And that's what we have right now, largely untouched, right? I mean, I just made minor tweaks here and there and fixed a few, typos and bugs, but most of it is the same as he wrote it. They are his words, right? And it's $60, right? And then we went to Zybooks, and a large factor in my going to Zybooks was really, the interactive environment that it provides, but also that I think it was $40 or something, cheaper. But then even that was overkill, right? I mean, you shouldn't have to pay $40 to learn C++. You can do it for free. And so what I would suggest is when it comes to Savage, don't go for the latest and greatest edition out there. right? The latest and greatest edition would cost you like $60 or $70. But just go on secondhandbooks.com, or I don't know what it's called, some, half books or so, well, even Amazon, right? Buy one of these used old Savage textbooks, which is like a second edition or third edition. Right now we're up to the 7th or 8th or 9th edition, but buy one of those second or third editions, even even if it has people's scribblings inside of it, buy it, because C++ has changed, but the parts of C++ that we are covering, even 2A and 2B, they haven't changed that much to warrant a brand new edition of the text. So if you go and buy one of those, second edition or third editions, you can't even pick up this book from a book recycling place, or you can get it for $5, $2, $3, cost of a couple of coffees, really. So you should be able to buy that book really cheap. Yeah, so I would say don't buy the full price edition of these books. If you have to buy a book, you don't really, strictly speaking, have to buy any of these books, right? It's so many resources. We have the modules, we have online resources, and even now, I think if I go on Reddit at some random time, I find one or two students posting links to resources they've found, Khan Academy videos for particular concepts. And I think someone also posted, I don't know if it was 2A or 2C, they posted these links to the Harvard lectures, David Mallon's classes, I think, of those videos, right? And they also made it free, right? So everybody's recognizing and realizing the fact that education really ought to be free. You shouldn't be paying a premium if you can get the same quality or better quality education elsewhere, right? So for example, you can learn everything to do with C++ that you need to become a successful programmer just here in this class, 2A, 2B, 2C. You'll be a competent programmer out there, on par with the best out there. You can go and work alongside people at the best of these software companies, just learning the skills. So why do you need to pay like $60,000 or $70,000 to go to an elite institution? This is largely for networking, right? Networking and interacting with other bright people. But we now have, thanks to this online environment, we have all the bright people congregate in any channel, right? So we have a lot of really bright people in our class. Every one of you has got this incredible enthusiasm and thirst for learning that you bring to class, and that's all that distinguishes a bright student from a non-bright student, right? I don't believe that anyone is intrinsically more brilliant than anybody else. I think it's just the different circumstances in our lives that make us feel hungry for various things, right? So biological factors and so on. So and then if you have, depending on the circumstances, if everything else in your life is taken care of, then your inner thirst, right? Because your inner thirst, you're always thirsty, but then you don't tend to think of that thirst when other more pressing biological thirsts are at the top of your head, right? So if you're starving and you're thirsty, and you're not going to be thinking of, oh, how am I going to do a better version of that sorting algorithm that Daniel created last class, right? So you're not going to be thinking of that. So when all these biological needs are taken care of, and then you sit down and say, all right, well, what's next? I'm happy now. I'm just sitting there. What can I do? I'm happy. Then your inner thirst will start surfacing, and you know what your real desire is, right? Is this, if I do this, that gives me lasting pleasure. None of those other things give me lasting pleasure, because those were all just biological needs. A biological need satisfies you, gives you pleasure while it is in the process of satisfying you, and then goes away. It's not really lasting, because it's going to come back from that point onwards. Your tummy is full, but as and when your food gets digested, you're going to start getting more and more hungry slowly again, right? It keeps coming back. It overshadows, those things overshadow what you really need, I think. That's my hypothesis. And then, so once you find that thirst, it happens at different times, at different periods of different people's lives. Once you find that, you'll find that you can locate it very easily, right? And when you get so thirsty at some point, you become like that mathematician Euler, right? Euler, by the way, I think he was very famous, not only for the phenomenal amount of mathematical output he produced, but also because he was so enamored by form, right? The symmetry and structure of mathematical truths, that he was thinking about it regardless of how many bodily needs he had, right? So apparently, he could be hungry, or I think he went blind, right? Was he one of the people that went blind and still did mathematics and produced some of the incredible gems in mathematics even when he was blind? But there's stories of how he used to have 3 of his kids sitting on his laps, trying to put one to sleep, trying to feed another one, and and coming up with mathematical theorems at the same time, right? Because he's thirsty for all these things, and you got to discover that. You got to discover that, because I think that really is the point of life, if from my perspective, because all these other things, they come and go, and then we're still searching, right? We're still searching, even though I found everything, but none of that really seems to meet what I need. And so you're still searching, and that's the answer, right? When you find this is when you can stop your search, really. It's like this graph, and so you got to keep on looking, and you'll find it at some point. Once you find it, then you're just in its service. You're in the service of this beautiful form that just basically dictates everything you do, and say, are you doing this? Do it this particular way because it's going to be more beautiful. Doing this, or you're going to sing that song, sing it that way. Or you're going to dance this dance it this way. So you have that overarching form. It may not be it may not be common to everybody else, but I think there's a large overlap between the form that appeals to many people in different domains, right? Even different domains. I think it is pretty much the same kind of form that we're after, whether it's mathematics or anything else. What time is it? 8:15. Okay, I think we should start, unless you guys have something that you want to talk about. Right, there is a freezing day for the quests. Chan has a question. Now, tell me, or chime in the chat window. Oh wow, we have more students today than before. Who's here? Let me take a look. Oh, there's a new guy today. Bio was here. Well, anyway, this maybe some new people. Well, you can't just hop into a class in lecture number 15 and hope to catch up everything. Okay, I mean, you can catch up with everything, but ideally you have to attend all these classes, or at least watch the videos that we record and put up on YouTube. Now, if you don't do that, it'll be really hard, because you are talking about getting on an accelerating train. You're not talking about a train that's parked in the station. That happens. The train was parked in the station until the 21st of September, right? And after that, it starts accelerating. It goes slowly initially, but it is picking up speed now. And then that's why after week 3, it's practically impossible to join this class and also pass it. So if you are worried about the freeze date for the quests, when do the quests freeze? Is it this weekend? Is it this Sunday? 29. Oh, you got 10 days. Yeah, you got 10 days. Yeah, 10 days is more than enough to get up to quest number, was it 4 or 5? How many quests freeze on 4? Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. So you see, so if you go onto the forums, yeah, Anthony, thank you. Yeah, if you go onto the forums, you'll see that a lot of people are discussing quest number 6 already, right? So people are talking about the crow quest and then the serpent quest, and people are finishing the quest, which means that it's only 3 weeks since class started, and people are already in quest number 6. Which means, that means that if you have 10 days, you can easily get up to quest number 4, especially given that the first quest is a no-brainer. Yeah. Why do you feel frustrated? Because the first quest is a no-brainer. It's just a hello world. Your IDE gives it to you. So you only have 3 quests to complete in 10 days. And the first 3 quests are really, really easy. The first 4 quests actually are really easy. So you got 3 days per quest. Yeah, why do you care? So don't look at what other people are doing, okay? That is a sure recipe for failure. Don't just do what you want to do. Why do you compare yourself to what other people need to do or are doing? Don't, because that, you know, what other people are doing will only, and you don't know whether they're talking about it. You don't know how many points they got or whether they got, you know, things working all correctly, and they have time, right? I mean, maybe they know C++ already, and they're coming into, you know, they've had some experience before, and that's why they're swimming through these quests effortlessly. And you shouldn't really worry about that, because I think you still have a great deal of time to get up to 4. But if you don't get to quest number 4 by the 29th, I think it is safe to say, right? It's not certain, but I think it's safe to say that it is highly likely that you may not pass the course, okay? So you may get an F on the transcript if you don't reach quest number 4. On the other hand, if you reach quest number 4 by the 29th, you definitely pass, all right? I think it's very, very likely you'll pass. And then, you know, then it's a question of just working on your grades if you're doing it for a grade, or, you know, take your time to polish up your quests and, you know, ace them and get the max points and so on and so forth. But 10 days is a lot of time. So I wouldn't worry. Don't, yeah. You can look at the forums and people are discussing these quests, but you don't know if, first of all, you don't know if the people who are talking about these quests are students in this class, right? They could just be random people out there who are doing these quests for fun, and maybe they started like, you know, 20 days before the before quarter started, and that's why they're at 5 and 6. There's 100 different reasons why people could be on advanced quests right now, and yeah, you know, successful programmers look at their code mostly, you know, and they look at other people's code to see what they can use from there. But they don't look at other people's code to say, oh my gosh, those guys are out there, right? Yeah, competition, right? I don't know. There's this whole idea about competitiveness and competition bringing out the best in people, and that, you know, whether it's capitalistic competition between companies, you know, companies keeping their trade secrets, and, you know, and that bringing out the best of everything. I don't know. I think there's good competition and bad competition. And what the government tries to do is really through these anti-monopoly practices and so on, it just tries to say, I'm going to squash the bad competition so that the good competition can still exist. But unfortunately, there is no such distinction. You know, I mean, the government doesn't come into our CS2A class or, you know, learning environments and say, hey, you know, you guys are competing in a very unhealthy way, so I'm going to nix that. They don't do that, right? So unfortunately, when it comes to this, I believe that competition should not exist at all in education, right? Who are you competing against? You know, are you trying to learn something faster than someone else? Are you trying to learn something before that person does? I mean, what happens if that person learned something and you didn't? Are you going to give it up saying I lost the race? No, you're not learning for someone else. You're learning for yourself. So why compete? So if at all you compete, you got to be competing only with yourself. You can't compete with someone else. So don't look at other people, right? So competition and looking at other people only creates fear and reluctance to march forward. You know, because you have this sense of fatality, saying, oh, you know, there's no use now. There's no use learning about vectors anymore because other people have already know about vectors. You know, do you say that? Do you say, well, you know, I wanted to learn vectors, but all these other people already know about vectors. So, you know, too bad. No, let me find out something else that I can learn. You never say that, right? You always say, hey, so many people know about vectors, so it must be really cool. I got to know, yeah, I got to find out too, right? That's the right attitude. And yeah, I think you'll go a long way with that kind of attitude. It works for me anyway, right? So just shutting out the external world. You're not the entire external world. You know, the external world has a lot of noise and useful information. Just shut out all the noise, you know, because the noise is totally useless. It's white noise, and don't listen to it. And it's a waste of time, because, you know, the people around you who are creating noise, they're just living in a noisy world, and they're going to die in a noisy world. And they'll never see the silence that characterizes the true beauty of what you're doing. Okay. All right. Does that answer your question, Chan? So 29th is a lot of time. Now that you know that it's the 29th, you don't have any excuse for not working on the quest. You got to start working and finish all the quests. You got a lot of time, finish it. Okay, there's people on the forums. So all these people that you see in class today, they've done these quests. They are able to help you. ask these people. Now, Lane is going to come and talk to us in person on Thursday. Okay, so those of you who don't know Lane Johnson, who's our who's our tutor, especially good in teaching people about quests, right? And pulling you out of places where you got stuck in your quests. Is quest 2 popping up after all 3 mini quests? So yeah, so Lane is going to come next class, and he'll just give you an idea of how you can avail of STEM Center help. Because, I told you this several times, that we have fully paid high quality tutors, right? High quality tutors. I mean, these are tutors you can't find elsewhere, right? I mean, so yeah, so you should absolutely listen to Lane and get tips from him on how to go to the STEM Center, log on to his channel, and get the help you need. So no excuses for failing to miss the deadline. Okay, and since we have a lot of time and a lot of help in the Reddit forums, I'm not going to extend the freeze date for Quest 1 to 4. Please pass this message on to your friends, those who aren't here today. I know there's a lot of people here today, but still pass it on to any of your friends that there will not be any extensions for the freeze date, because over the last couple of quarters, students may be looking at Reddit and saying, hey, Anand gave extensions for freeze dates, so I can take it easy. No, it's not going to happen, because there is so much information on Reddit now, because all these people who've done these quests and said, I got stuck here, I fixed it this way. I got stuck here, I fixed it this way. So much information that there's really no reason for you to need an extension. Yeah. Alexis, don't worry. I don't think you missed anything important. I was just talking away. And okay, Chan, anybody here will help you through email or text. However, keep this in mind. You are not allowed to share your code with anyone. Okay? No sharing of code. And that means you can't share your code with people in Reddit or in personal messaging and say, hey, what's the bug here? You cannot do that. Keep that in mind. If any of you, yeah. So what I want to know is directions to code. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's fine. You can always ask concept questions, and people will help you there. And of course, keep this in mind. Okay, it's classmates, of course. They would know not to help you with the code directly, but we don't have any visibility into what you do in your personal time, right? I mean, you could go and ask your boyfriend or girlfriend or mom or dad or brother or sister to come and take a look at this code and debug it for me. I don't have any way of finding out if you did that. And the only thing is that if you did that, you'll end up asking a lot of newbie questions in the Reddit forums for the advanced quests. Okay, and you don't want that to happen. So. Because there is nothing left for me if I just get a code for a solution. I'm not sure I understand your question, Chan. Can you say that again? Why don't you just speak it up? Because I think the chat window, yeah, here's what I noticed in the YouTube videos that I post. Hey, do you guys actually watch the recordings that we post? Or do I need to do these videos and post them on Reddit? Or shall we just do a live Zoom session and just forget it and not do the recording? Because that's a whole lot easier, right? Because if I do this recording and I post it after the class, I need to wait for Zoom to save it to a file, and then I need to upload it to YouTube, which takes 20 minutes, and then I go into the properties and change all the details. I'm talking about at least an hour of time for me after class, sometime during the day, to make this video on YouTube. If nobody's going to watch it, I'd rather not do these videos, right? And if you want the material, just come to class. And is that okay, or do you want me to
I find it helpful to go back and review what we went over, in case
okay.
especially like when we were going over Daniel's code, I went back after class to review what we were talking about, because I did miss like a thing here or there. So I think it is beneficial to be able to go back and rewatch some of the stuff.
I see. Who is this, by the way? Who said that? I can tell.
Anthony?
Anthony. Oh, I see. Yeah, there you are. Okay, Anthony, if you do that, can I request something? Because these videos tend to be of our whole class, like, almost 2 hours. If you're looking for Daniel's code or, George's code or your code, you're going to find it in the video. Can you please, anyone, not just Anthony, right? Anyone who watches these videos for specific segments, can you make a comment in the video with saying, oh, Anthony's code, I think at 13:15 or something like that, right? Just make a comment so that people who are looking for your code, also, make a little note under that saying Anthony's code talks about loops or something like that, right? So that people who want that, they don't have to page through the entire 2-hour video to find it, right? So you just click on that minute mark and YouTube will take you directly to your code. Can people please help me with that? Yeah, because I can't do that for every video, especially since I don't know which part you guys are watching. So if you find certain parts useful, can you create time bookmarks on the comment under the video in comments so that people can go and say, right, I want to watch that. I want to watch that. Because I can guarantee, right? Nobody's going to sit through this 2-hour video, right? Even if you watch it in double speed, I think YouTube gives you the option to watch it up to double speed. Even if you set it to double speed, I don't think anyone is going to watch the whole damn thing, right? Especially with me blabbering on like this most of the time. You want to be able to cut through these and get through to the meat of these videos. And if someone can take the trouble, anytime you watch it, make a mark saying, hey, at this place, Daniel's code, at this place, Sumit's code, and not just Sumit's code. You got to say, Sumit's code, which integrates binary search and sorting and that kind of stuff, right? And something interesting to grab people and say, hey, it looks like someone did a sorting technique that uses binary search inside of it. Let me see what they did, right? Is they click on that and it takes you directly to that thing. So if you do that kind of thing, it'll be really cool. I think I don't have a backlog for videos. I think I posted the most recent video out already. It's just a question of finding the time. But today, the rest of the day, I got lots of meetings. So I don't know when I'll post today's video. I'll try and get to it, right? I also got a squirrel video today.
A script that automatically posts the videos. When you write a script that just watches for it to be done and then uploads the video automatically and fills it in based on some template information.
Where? What are you talking about? YouTube?
For uploading to YouTube, that sounds like something that should be possible to do with a script.
Oh yeah. I don't want to do it because I think things will change. The way we do these things will be so flexible, and I don't want to go and fiddle with the script every time I want to make a change. But if you want to do it, go ahead. If you want to go and say, mark these portions where interesting student code is there. So by all means,
just go upload it.
Yeah, I'll upload it. I'll upload it, and then you can go ahead and polish it up if you want. Let me know if you want to be. I think YouTube requires you to be, a manager of the channel. So I can set you up as a manager if you want to go in and fiddle with those videos. All right. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover functions. Yeah. Why don't we start off by you guys ask me any questions, or you can ask. We can start with the basic. Start at the root of everything if you want. You can. We're going to do this from queued off by your questions. The entire lecture queued off by your questions because honestly I didn't prepare anything. Well, I haven't prepared anything for any of these classes. That's why I talk so much. But I think I hope it's useful and helpful. So you guys are going to shepherd me into the right alleyways to talk. So today's class is supposed to focus on on functions, how you call functions, and so on. What I can do is also, at any time you guys want, I can just fire up an editor or share my terminal or Xcode and start creating a small function or a small program which uses a function, and then we can start experimenting with it, right? Using different kinds of variable passing and so on. Better yet, someone else can do it, and we can all talk you through it like we did with Daniel's code and George's code, etc. last class. Someone who hasn't hasn't volunteered for this before, volunteered to showcase their code before, it would be really nice if you are in conjunction with one more person by your side, right? Virtually, so that you don't feel so awkward. Two of you, if that's allowed, say, I'd like to do it. And then we'll come up with an idea for a simple function, right? Simple function, like 10-line program, which we'll all write together. But basically, you're going to write on screen, and I'll guide you, and the rest of us will also guide you. And so this is such a $1 million opportunity, right? Because I say this because those of you who already know to do these things, you're not going to get anything out of this, right? That's why I said, if you already know how to do these functions, don't volunteer to showcase your code today. You can do it next class on Thursday, because Thursday is a time when you get to exhibit your skills. You can say, hey, I've got this really cool program I want to show you guys, right? So that's when you come and exhibit. That's your exhibition, your showcase. Today is not a showcase. So people who already know should not volunteer to come up here and present their type in on screen. Those who have never had a chance, and those who aren't yet sure they can code. Yeah, the only thing you need to be good at, I think, the requirement for coming up here to type on screen is you have to be reasonably proficient in typing, which means that you need to have a computer that is reasonably fast, not like Daniel's computer last class, okay? To make sure you don't have any viruses and your computer is cool, okay? So you got to have a computer that is responsive, and you need to be reasonably quick at typing.
I think my Zoom install has a memory leak because the moment I close the meeting, everything went insubstantially faster.
Are you talking about Zoom having a memory leak?
I think that my install of Zoom for some reason is leaks memory because
I'd be very surprised. Well, let's not belabor that point, but I would be very surprised if you discovered that Zoom or Chrome had maybe Chrome has a memory leak, but I'd be surprised if Zoom had a memory leak at this point, right? So anyway, let's not talk about that. I want someone who is still uncomfortable with programming, okay? So someone who hasn't coded on screen in front of the rest of the class, especially, right? That person, the reason I say that it is a great opportunity is because by volunteering to code in front of everybody else and be guided by the whole class, you will save, right? You're going to spend, 20 minutes coding on screen here, but those 20 minutes will be the equivalent of 20 hours of learning later on. I'm exaggerating a bit, but it's bound to be, the reason I say that is because when you're on screen in front of everybody else, your entire attention, 100% of your attention is right there. It's focused because you're thinking, oh, I want to be doing this. I can't afford to make any silly mistakes, or whatever it is, right? You're thinking, and what happens when you're doing that? And also all of that is going to be recorded so you can keep watching it again and again, right? So when you do that, because that information reached you in a, I had a very vulnerable state of mind. It really settles, I found out because I've not found out, but I have a really good suspicion that's what happens because I think about 4 or 5 quarters in the past, I've tried this with students, not here in a Zoom setting, but I've tried to get students and I pull students out to come in and code on the whiteboard. Right, and all the other students are sitting there in class and they're watching, and I'm there, and then the student is coding on the whiteboard, and then I ask them, right, about the next quarter if they're in my 2B, or if or even towards the end of the quarter, I ask them, was that helpful? Did that help? And they always invariably they say, oh my gosh, that was so super duper helpful because I was so peeing in my pants really when I was up there, and I was so trembling inside. Now I just can't forget it. It's an unforgettable experience. It's now ingrained in my memory. So anytime I want to know what do I do with this pointer, all I need to do is just imagine back that class when I was coding on the whiteboard, and everything just comes back to me. Minute by minute, everything comes back to me, and I can see exactly what I did. Right. So it'll basically cement itself into your brain if you are up here. And in fact, one of the students, Julie, I think. Julie was, this was several quarters ago. I think it was 2016, maybe 2017. And she was very shy student, I think. And even when class was, we were talking about stuff, I mean, she knew all the stuff, I think. And she was working on math problems and so on in class. And I said, well, Julie, you know, you're not supposed to be doing math problems in class. Come up here and code on the whiteboard, right? And then she got the shock of her life. And then she went up and coded on the whiteboard and did a fantastic job. And she was the one who told me that it really, really helped later on. And you know, now she's, right now, she's applying to Stanford math or computer science. And yeah, she asked me to. Yeah. So yeah, she's so there you go. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. What is 25? OMG 25? Oh, October 29? I don't know. I can't follow the chat window, right? I say, what is 25? Oh, freeze is on 25, not 29. I don't know. Well, okay, it's always a Sunday, right? It's a Sunday night, which means the Monday of the Monday following that Sunday when I wake up, usually around, I don't know when I'll wake up, right? So that's when I'll freeze the code.
Yeah, I was just posting clarification for Chan, looking at the syllabus. It looks like it's unless the dates have changed at all, but based on the syllabus, it should be October 25th, which is this coming Sunday.
Oh, wow.
And because October 29th is the midterm. I think he may have, they're right next to each other on the syllabus. So they have not matched up. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify so that he doesn't go over the time limit.
Thank you so much. I didn't know that. And I mean, I probably knew that, but I forgot. So I thought it was the 29th. How many days does that give you? So
that leaves us 5 days.
5 days for 4 quests. 3 quests, really, right? Only 3 quests for 5 days. This is the first quest is a hello world. You can do that really easily. So 3 quests, 5 days. I think it is doable. If you're really, really struggling on the day before the freeze date, you as long as you're on quest number 3 and you have, you know, made progress in quest number 3, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Right? Maybe I'll give you a few extra hours or, you know, 1 day more. But only if you have reached quest number 3 and made progress, some progress in quest number 3, quest number 4, right? Some progress in quest number 4, the zebra quest, I think. Then we can look at extending it just for you for a few hours or something like that until you finish it. It's still possible, man. I mean, I think you don't have to worry. Okay. All right. Someone volunteer. Someone who hasn't been up here before. Say I would like to take the screen and code something up. Now, how it's going to work is that you're going to take the screen, open up your editor or IDE, and then and it'll be blank. There's nothing in there, and then we'll start from scratch. We don't even know what we're going to program right now, right? We're going to collectively brainstorm and think about something to program after you've got your screen share and the IDE up. That's when we'll say, okay, now we've got an IDE. What can we do, right? What kind of program can we write, right? And then we'll look for ideas and so on, okay? In fact, what we can do is, well, there's so many ideas, right? So we'll take some ideas from you first. Yeah, all right? So how about someone take this chance and save yourself 20 hours of time, right? So imagine you get 20 hours, you can then go on and party for 20 hours if you do this, 20 minutes of demo today, okay? So I don't want to volunteer anyone, like I said before, but please, someone who hasn't been up here, volunteer to come up to the screen, share your screen, and then we'll take it from there. Can someone just push yourself out there? Now, this is when, I don't get any eye contact at this point, right? And nobody wants to look at me. But, that's what happens in class. Every time I ask for volunteers, nobody will look at me, right? And, please do. Yeah, question order of Q1, Q2, Q3. Yeah. You got to go in sequence. You can't do 4 before 3. Come on, guys. Someone who hasn't been up here, what are you waiting for? Do you want me to give you an extra credit point for coming up here and demoing your code? Why is nobody volunteering? Why is it? Are you guys scared? You shouldn't be scared. Okay, we're all friends here. You see how, we all make mistakes. Everybody who had their code up there on screen, we're making mistakes, right? There were bugs. We all fix the bugs together. I make mistakes all the time. You saw how many bugs I had in the code, right? So I was typing code and there's so many bugs in there, and then we went back and fixed all those bugs, right? That's how it works, right? When you're making something, right, get the rough thing together first, and then go in and do the fine detail. Everything happens like that. So don't be afraid. You can slap a blob of clay on the wheel, as it were. That's what's going to happen, right? And then we'll try and finish it up. Come on, someone. Just say yes. I'll be with you all the way. I'll be with you all the way. And if you're not coding, I will just speak on your behalf. Okay. If someone who wants to code, start coding, and I will try and make sure that you never even look like you're getting stuck, okay? So I'll guide you through the entire process. Now, and people come and ask me, right? So people come and ask me later saying, hey, I want to code. Can I have a one-on-one with you so you can help me code, right? Yeah, well, here, you got an opportunity for a one-on-one right here. In fact, it's not even a one-on-one. It's like, 50-on-1. All of us are going to help you. And with not, in a perfectly, friendly way. And that's the way to get help, right? So here, when help is offered to you, you should take it. And in the process, you'll also help all the other people too. Why is nobody not chiming in the chat window? Nobody wants to take this opportunity? All right. Okay. I don't know what I'm going to have to do to coax you out. Yeah, Daniel, you've gone multiple times. Who else? Yeah, not Daniel, Andrew, Andy, Giorgio. Yeah. You guys have gone. Come on.
Maybe we can set up a live coding, pair programming session on REPL, so that everyone can join the same REPL, thing.
Okay.
And people can edit.
Yeah, but the risk with doing that is that Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the risk with doing that is that it'll be live coding and open, but not everybody will join. You'll find one or two people chime in and say, hey, make these changes. The rest of them will just be passive onlookers. And I don't even know if they're onlookers, right? I mean, they could be logged into Zoom and then taken off to do something else. How would I know? How would I know that, all these people who are listed in my participants list are actually here listening, right? All you need to do for an online class today is, especially since most of you don't even have live camera feeds, right? You just have your names and a static photo or something like that. I don't have any idea what's going on. You could just log into Zoom at 8 a.m. and you could set up a script like Daniel said, right? So Daniel could set up a script. Here's my schedule for the winter quarter. At 8 a.m., it needs to log into Zoom for Anand's class, right? At 10 a.m., I need to log into Zoom for Zach's class, okay, Patrick's class, right? So you have a script that logs into Zoom and logs you out at the right times. So you're there, but you're not really there. You can do that, right? You can do that today, easily. So how do I know? I just see some names up here and not even live feeds. So I don't know if I'm talking to you, except when from time to time, some of you guys chime in. What would be fairly impressive? October 29, finishing everything by October 20. Hey, Augie, what is fairly impressive? Finishing by 25th, is that what you're saying? Hey guys, you're not even answering my questions. Oh, is it referring to the script that joins Zooms for you? Yeah. You can do that for boring meetings, I guess. Except, when someone asks you a question, right? Suppose I ask someone a question right here, right? I pick a random person, Adam, what is your name, right? And he doesn't say Adam, then I know he's not there.
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. I saw your name here. I was using you as an example, right? So come on, someone, please. Yeah, getting response and stuff would be a whole other undertaking. Yay! Thank you, Sumaid. Hey, I thought I don't recognize. Yeah, absolutely. Share your screen. Take the screen and share it. And while you're
Okay.
setting up, I wanted to mention something. You know, last week was that you? Did you do the binary search sorting technique last week?
I think that might have been Sumit,
Yeah,
S-U-M.
okay, all right, that's what I thought. I thought it was Sumit, and so but then I realized there was also a Sumit because I asked you what your spelling was, right? But I went to the roll call and I couldn't find a Sumit in CS2A. Are you Sumit? Are you enrolled in CS2A or?
I believe I am.
Okay, all right, I'll go and take a look.
I'll double check. I hope I am.
Okay, all right, I'll check the roster once again because I looked and I thought I found one of you and not the other.
Yeah, I was a late ad, so yeah, I hope I'm in there. But yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll fit you in if you're not, but I want to make sure. All right, go ahead. Take the screen and
Okay.
open up an editor. Open up an editor, a blank editor.
Okay. All right. Let me.
Yeah, clean up everything. Open up the blank editor.
Okay.
All right, and create the template. Right. This is everybody. Right. Watch what we're doing here. Opening up a blank editor and creating a template. Template is basically your hello world, right? So you don't write, we don't need to say see out hello world, but you just need to have the main block and then the includes and using namespace and things that if you want, right? So
Right.
create that.
So
that's the first thing you do.
We want to include, let's see. Sorry, what's the S stream?
No. I think it's IO stream. Yeah,
IO.
let's not take user input, right? Let's forget about user input today. We'll just do everything inside of the program.
Okay.
What is this, by the way? It's repeat, is it?
This is REPL?
REPL. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, go ahead. Finish up the template.
Okay.
Using namespace. You can say using namespace. It'll save you a whole bunch of typing.
Namespace std.
Yeah.
And then
int main.
Int main.
It needs to. So main, by the way, is a function, right? I think the quest number 1, the documentation of the PDF file, the spec for quest number 1 describes this. Everything in C++ is a function, right? Including main. The only thing that is special about main is that main is the very first function that's going to be called, and you don't call it, the operating system will call it. So it's called the entry point, okay? It's called the entry point of the program. That is the only function that you don't call personally, and then the operating system will call it. So what happens, right? When you write a program, it's all compiled into binary, and then it's loaded up into memory somewhere, right? It's loaded up into memory, and the operating system will signal the CPU, right? Saying, all right, now I've loaded up the program in memory, go ahead and execute it. Now, but obviously the CPU needs to know, where should I start executing from? You know, where is the first instruction, right? You took this beautiful program in C++, converted that into binary in bytes and loaded up into memory. So I know the program is there in memory from byte number 47 to byte number 96 or something like that, right? So it's loaded up in memory. Those bytes are the instructions I need to execute one by one, but where do I start, right? So the way to begin execution in C++ is to start at the entry point, and the entry point in C++, as far as the compiler goes, is this function called main, right? And so main is a function just like any other function, and in fact, you should experiment and find out if you can yourself call main, right? So that's an interesting experiment, right? So not now, right? In your own time. But if you don't call main, the operating system will call main, right? The operating system will always call main when your program starts up. That's the very first function that's going to get executed. So that's where it starts. That's the starting point. Okay, now main is a function, which means it takes parameters. Now, if a function does not take any parameters, it still needs to have the open and close parentheses after its name, right, in the declaration. It's just empty because it takes no parameters, right? We'll talk about all these things, right, the parameters and what the function does and so on. Now, inside of main, we're going to create a call to a function, and we need to create the function. So let's see. Let's think up something interesting that the function can do. We want to think up something that is interesting that we can create a function for, right? Let me get the chat window in case you guys are chiming in with interesting things. And otherwise, I'll try and think up something. It needs to be simple enough, okay? It needs to be whatever function you're dreaming of right now. It needs to be simple enough that we can implement it in class, right? So Does anybody have ideas for an interesting function you can write? Don't talk about the quest now, okay? Giorgio, Augie, Andy, right? So don't talk about the quest now. You can talk about the quest later on in your own time. Right? We're talking about programming in C++ as a function class. Okay, we're talking about functions. So has anybody got an idea for something interesting that we can write a function for? I'm thinking maybe we can do. Yeah, okay. All right, let's do this. Let's write a function. Oh, do we have that function from, no, we don't want to do a complex one like generating sentences, right? So even though that was simple, but not, I want to do a small function. We can do that. Obviously we can do that name creation thing, which we did, which is in fact part of your quest number 6. Making a name that is pronounceable. Do you want to do that?
Sure. Yeah, we could do that.
It is actually part of quest number 6, so you can actually use this code in quest number 6. Well, with modifications. Yeah, okay. All right, so if nobody else has a better idea or some other cool thing, that's what we'll do, right? So assume that we don't have that idea for now, right? Let's take about a minute, 60 seconds to think about something, something else that you want to do that may be interesting as a program, right? Like a 10-line program at most.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you display the image in CPP?
I'm sorry?
How do you display an image in CPP?
How do you display an image?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I won't go into that today, but but basically to display an image, you need to access the display, right? So if you're talking, but displaying text is fine, right? For displaying text in ASCII characters, you just send it to Cout, and then it'll do it. Because the library knows how to do that. But is your question related to how do I display a picture?
Yeah, a certain picture.
Yeah. Okay. So there is a way in which you can address individual pixels on the screen. So there is a way in which you can go to the screen and say set pixel number, row 47, column, row 47, column 300, right? Put a dot there in blue. So there is a way. There's a single call, one function call that can do that. But we won't go into that. They're just libraries, okay? And the reason is because it's different. All you need is just the logic for creating the picture. The picture does not really need to live on your screen. The picture could live on paper, on a printer, on a dot matrix printer, or it could just be in memory, virtually, right? It may not look like a cat, but it's stored in bytes. So, it's a sequence of ones and zeros. It doesn't even look like a cat. It's in bytes in memory, but that is a picture. You've drawn a picture, right? And after that is trivial, because I shouldn't say trivial, not really C++ anymore. It's not complex logic, because that logic has all been worked out decades ago. People know how to do this. To say, here's a picture that I've stored in memory in bytes, take that and put it on screen. Then you just call a function to do that. And that function interacts to the screen through what is called a device driver. A device driver is another small module that lives in the operating system that knows how to address the individual pixels on a screen, right? And it should not be part of your program, right? It should not be part of your program, because if you bake that into your program is basically just cemented to that particular screen from that point onwards, right? Other people who are using your program who want to get a picture on a printer, on a phone, or on a satellite in space, they can't use your program, because your program is hard-coded and baked in, the screen. You can't talk to anything else. So that's why how to draw a picture on a screen is not really part of a programming language. It is abstracted away into the libraries, right? So you just pick up a library and say, I want to use that library to plop that picture on screen, and then so that's how you do it. Yeah? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other interesting think about it?
What about Turing machine?
What
if we implemented like a simple Turing machine, like with a tape?
No. I don't think we should do that. For a number of reasons, right? Can we write a program which finds a number we thought of? Yeah, okay, we can do that. Muhammad has a question. Can we write a program that finds a random number we thought of? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can do that. All right, why don't we do that? Okay, why don't we do that? The reason I was hesitant a bit, it was because that really is part of quest number, I don't know, one of these quests has a game in it that you have to guess a secret number. But that's okay, we'll do it, okay? Especially since if you haven't reached that quest, you can look at this demo and see how to do that. Okay, all right, so let's create, now leave the main block, Sumedh, go above main, and let's create a function. And the function should return a Boolean, right? Meaning that did the game succeed or not? And then say Boolean find underscore find secret or something like that. Find secret or something. Find secret number.
Yep. Find secret number.
Yeah, whatever. And then you want this function is going to get given the secret number. Yeah. So we're going to give the function a secret number, and then that function is going to ask the user. Right? It's not going to show the user what the secret number is. It's going to hold on to that number and say, ask the user, what is the number? What is the number? What is the number? And it's going to compare, right? And until the user gets a number, it's going to say no, 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 no. And when the user gets a number, it'll say, yes, you found the number, and then it'll return true. If the user tried 10 times, let's say 20 times, let's say 5 times, right? 5 times and didn't find the number, then it'll return false. How's that? Is that a good way to design this little function? I think we should do that, and we should be able to do that in less than 10, 15 lines of code. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where should we store our reference number that we want to check? Was that? Would you pass that into the function, or would that be somewhere else?
Yeah. Main should generate the reference number, and it will pass it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Hey, rest of you guys, not Sumedh. Rest of you guys, if Sumedh is typing in something that you don't yet understand, it is the onus is on you to pipe up. Okay, you got to say, hey, I don't understand what the hell is going on. Can you please explain? If you think that, oh my gosh, I'm going to look stupid for asking that question, well, you're not only going to look stupid, right? You'll remain stupid too, right? It's better to look stupid and not remain stupid than to always look stupid, right? So don't. That's a very bad analogy to use, right? Because first of all, I don't believe in stupidity. I think it's just that, yeah, people think, but people stupidly think that they are stupid, right? How about that? You know, double negative or double. So yeah, you can't. Don't be afraid. Yeah. Oh, you haven't continued. Okay. Yeah. Into reference number. All right. Now generate a random reference number from between 0 and 10.
Okay. Oh, and then tie that to reference number?
No, so go on to the next line. Go on to the next line. Give me a blank line after that too. So that, okay, great. So we want to say a reference number equals, rand, percent 10, right? So that will give you a number between 0 and 10, not including 10, right? You'll get 0 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
0 to 9.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, well, let's also make sure that every time you run it, you don't get the same random number each time. So we want to seed the random number generator. So after you have the declarations in main, call srand.
Srand here?
Before. No, not there. Not there. That should be rand. After, before that line, before the line before that. Yeah. Just call srand.
Call srand. How?
Yeah, srand. Blank line, and then separate the declarations away from the code. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Srand. Open parentheses. Now srand needs to be passed a kind of pseudo random number, which is going to hash and then used as the seed. So we're going to pass the current value of the clock in your computer, and you can get that by making a call to time. Time, T-I-M-E, and time takes a parameter. Which says, give me a box inside of which I can put the time, right? which is a pointer. So you don't have to worry about that. But instead, if you say, I'm not going to give you a box, give me the time. And so don't put the box in, don't put the time, the number of seconds in the box, but return it to me, right? Then you can say, I'm going to give you a 0 box, right? So 0, say 0 in there. Okay, now that means time will return the current time in seconds, right? So semicolon after that statement. That will make sure that every time you call rand from that point onwards, you get a brand new random number, not the same one. Right, okay. All right. Now you want to say after the next line, now you can say you want to find that, right? So I want to say bool success equals. You can call it success or found or something like that, right? So actually, you should say found, right? So because it's a predicate, you should say, yeah, found can have true and false values, right? So naming variables is very important in programs. So a predicate is something that has a truth or false value. And so anytime you have a variable that can either be true or false, you shouldn't call it a non-predicate name. A non-predicate name would be like John or apples or a number of stars in the sky, right? Num stars. Equals a predicate that's true or false. Yeah, it just doesn't gel, right? So these variables that can only take true and false values, you'll find that people will normally name them predicate style. A predicate, what is a predicate? If you take a sentence, the cat sat on the mat, it has 2 parts, right? Roughly, so it has a subject and a predicate. The subject of the cat sat on the mat is what? Come on. The cat sat on the mat. What is the subject of the sentence? What is the predicate of the sentence? Nobody's doing English grammar?
Mat.
Okay, the subject of the sentence is the cat. Yeah, the cat is the subject. And the predicate is sat on the mat. Okay, now the predicates have a very interesting property. Predicates always have only 2 possible values they can take, true or false. Sat on the mat. Did it sit on the mat or not? True or false? Okay, so a predicate is true or false. So Boolean variables should be named after predicates as much as possible, right? If you have a loop that is got to be going until your job is done, then you would have a test saying while not done. Okay, done is your predicate, because done can be either true or false, while not done. And look at how, so when you do it that way, your program also becomes, very readable in English, right? Because then when you read it, I'll say, while not done, do this. And that, it makes sense, right? So you can't say something like while number of stars, do this. What the hell is this? While number of stars is not even an English sentence, right? So you bring your knowledge from other domains, right? From other domains in English and all these other things to bear upon your code. And that's how your code gets better. Okay, so Boolean found equals find secret number, reference number. Now you're going to pass reference number as a parameter. So what Sumedh is doing here is he's going to call his function called find secret number, right? And give it the secret number and passing it and saying, oh, here's the number. Ask the user and try and get the user to find it. Okay, now the next line, you're going to say, you're going to test it, right? So you're going to say if found within parentheses. No. Found is not a function.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. If found.
Yeah, found. In the next line, you want to say cout. Yeah. Hooray! You found. You found. Space. Yeah, and it was all right. It was, and then give them the actual number.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, they should know, right? They should know because that was the last thing they typed in. Yeah, you found it. Hooray, you found it! Exclamation mark or something like that. Okay, great. Okay, else. Thank you. Yeah, and then you do the else part, saying, oh, else, oh, alas. Try again or something.
Yeah, just say try again.
Mm-hmm. And L. And then you want to return 0 to exit main. Okay. Now you see how you can also put this whole thing in a loop. Yes? Don't do it now, but I'd like you to see how you can put this in a loop so that this entire thing from line 15 to line 21, line 15 to 21 can be in a loop. You can be in a loop that keeps on playing this over and over again. But we won't do that now. Okay, so is everybody on the same page so far that we have created the shell? We're designing the program top down, not bottom up. Top down means you've got the overall thing in place. I know you're going to go and fill in the smaller items in there. So we got the big picture in place. That's your main. Now we're going to go and fill in the find secret number. Are we all okay with main so far? Yes or no? So you guys have to be interactive, okay? Because otherwise I'm just talking to myself. Okay. All right. So now Sumedh is going to code up the find secret number function. Okay. Yeah, Augie and I'd like more people and the rest of you to also chime in, right? It shouldn't only be the 5 people in my class always saying, yes, I got it, yes, I got it, yes, I got it. And I get to the end of the quarter and I have 5 people who pass the course, okay? And the rest of you who are just onlookers. No, so I know that some of you do understand the code, all right? So there's little information that I get from people I know that already know the code saying, yeah, I know the code. What do I know? Right? So those who are consider themselves weak, right? They're not weak, but they may consider themselves weak, or who thought they couldn't do it, they're the ones who should say yes. Well, it looks like nobody's actually listening to me. You guys are just having an independent chat in the chat window. Are people listening to me? Well, I know a few people are listening to me, like 5 people are listening to me maybe. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Right. Yeah, I mean, all right, we're going to proceed, but I would like everybody in class today, everybody in class who is present at this time, which is a good test, right? Everybody in class who's present at this time, who is not taken away, just type in the word yes in a chat window. So I need to see a whole lot of yeses in the chat window, or else I know that you guys are not really here at all. In fact, I'll scrape this and use this for my attendance, right? I can use a program that'll basically scrape this and say, how many yeses do I have? Those people are present. Okay, and we'll do that every class from now on, right? In the middle of the class, all of a sudden, I'm going to say, go ahead, now's your chance to type yes, okay? And you have to go and say yes, and that's my roll call. And I will use that, scrape that, and process it in my program to see who was present in class each time. And this is going to come at a surprise time during a class. So you don't know. You can't just, switch your brain off when you're in class.
You might want a stronger keyword than yes, because your scraper would likely pick up everyone who said yes.
Don't worry about that. I'll take care of that. Okay. So find secret number. All right. So here, what are the things that find secret number should do? The first thing it should do, it's got the number. It should ask the user what the number is. Yes. So, and since we're going to interact with the user, we're going to be using getLine and string stream and all. So go ahead and hash include string stream. I want to be mindful of the time too, right? Maybe we only get through this one program today, but it'll still be a useful and a good program. Yeah, we got time. We got like, 3/4 of an hour. That's plenty of time. Yeah, did you do that? Yeah, stream. Okay, now we want to print a prompt to the user saying enter the take a guess or something like that. Enter your guess or take your guess or whatever you want. Take a guess. But you also need to tell the user the number is between 0 to 10, right? Guess my number, and then you have to give them the range 1 to 10. Guess my secret number between 1 and 10 or something like that. No, not enter a number because you want them to guess your number. Guess my number. Okay, right, colon after the 10 and tidy it up. Colon space, yeah, thank you. No endl there.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Remember, yeah, okay. All right, now you want to do getLine. And you want a string variable, so declare a string variable, user input. Thank you. Thank you. I was about to say, do it up there, blank line after that, and very nice, very nice. Okay.
And
Get line, yeah, from CN. CN.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. Get line.
Yeah.
CN.
CN.
CN, yeah, and then user input. Is this a Mac or a PC?
This is a Mac.
Hit Control K. Right there. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, when all that comes up, I can just press Control K. Okay.
Control K is kill to the end of the line.
Okay.
All right. Semicolon. All right. So now you've got the user input, what the user entered in string form. So we need to convert that into a number. So you're going to say int. So you need an int variable also. So after the string input, create int user number or something. Yeah. So here you want to create a string stream from the user input. So you're going to say s stream. I think it's IS stream. I know in I string stream. I string stream.
Yeah.
Okay. And then space. And we want a name for the stream. Let's call it no. We want a name for this. I string stream is a type. Okay. It's a data type like int. So we want to create a data. We want to create an item of that data type. So what is a good name for a string? Call it stream in or SIN or stream input SIN. Okay, SIN or ISS input strings, whatever you want, right? Yeah, don't call it SIN because it's an English word. Where we want to stay away from English words that mean something completely different, right? So call it ISS. International Space Station, right? So input string stream, okay, ISS equal. I know ISS open parentheses. You're gonna this is called a constructor, right? Open, and then give it the user input as a parameter. Okay. Now what the statement does is take the user input string, make a stream from user input, and that stream will be named ISS. That's what that statement does. Is everybody clear on that? Okay, now you can read from ISS into usernum. All right, so then you say ISS double greater than usernum. No, not here. Just do it on the next line. So semicolon there. Yeah, now you say read from ISS. Yeah. You can also do it on one line without even creating ISS, but let's not do that now. Okay. Okay.
Quick question about line 12.
Line 12.
The I string stream ISS user input.
Yeah.
It almost looks like the format of a function, whereas you have a type of output, the function name, and then the input within the parentheses. Whereas normally when we deal with variables, which we are saying that I string stream is the type of the variable for ISS. Normally when we deal with variables, it seems like we would encounter the equal sign that we assign things into it. How come it's different for I string stream?
Yes, thank you very much for asking that. Is that Andrew or Andy?
Andrew.
Andrew, thank you very much. And it's a very good question. In fact, what's happening there is that we are actually we're actually calling a function, right? We're calling a function, and this is a special function called a constructor, right? So ideally what we would like is, Sumit, we're going to make a change here, which is not going to be part of this program, but we're going to make a change. We'll delete everything we do right now, right? So go to the line where you have I string stream. And then instead of saying that, you say put a semicolon like Andrew said after ISS, right? Put a semicolon after that, and then hit enter. Go on to the next line. Go on to the next line. Okay, go on to the next line and enter. Okay, now Andrew is saying this is how you typically declare a variable. Yes, but we declared that variable with as though it was as though it was a function being called, and that's the point you made. Yes.
Correct. So
okay,
we can either declare a variable like this with nothing in it, or sometimes we declare a variable with an equal sign and put something immediately into it.
Right. Okay. So that's what we're going. So ideally, what we need is something just like this. I declared a variable, and now I need to take user input and put it in that variable and make a stream with that. And so what you want to do is say, ISS. Type in something. This is not correct, by the way, but it conveys the concept, right? ISS dot initial no space no space after that. Yeah. Initialize with. Okay. All right. Now, this is what would make, Andrew or me with that lens happier, right? Because this looks like the more conventional way of creating and using that variable, right? You create the variable and then initialize it with user input. Yes? Is this better? Is this more in line with what we were expecting? Andrew?
This is more in line with what I was expecting, but then on the flip side, I guess my further question would be, with previous variables, I could just use the equal sign. How come I can't use the equal sign in this?
Well, actually, technically speaking, you don't need to use the equals variable, not even for integers, right? So go on to the next line. Go on to the next line, Sumi. Say int, let's say n, and then you can still say open parentheses 10 close parentheses. That'll just initialize n with 10. No, you need 10 inside. Yeah, that'll initialize n with 10. Right? Because what happens is that, technically speaking, that's not supposed to happen, right? Because n is a primitive type, it doesn't have a constructor attached to it, right? So constructors, as you will learn, right? In 2 weeks' time, you'll learn about constructors, right? Constructors are special functions that are attached to objects that you call, right? Which will initialize the object. They're special functions. Now, only objects have constructors, but n is an integer. It's not an object, it's a primitive type. But we're still using it like in a constructor syntax. Why? I don't think that used to be the case in very early versions of C++. But then I think even in Java, but then at some point, I don't know when, at some point, the C++ consortium decided, well, even though they're primitive types, let's make everything consistent so that, the programmer will have a unified experience, right?
So is it safe to say, in terms of our variables, we have primitive types such as integers and characters that we can, so those would be classified as primitive types, but then we have objects which are something that evolved as the language evolved? And
yeah, well, no, I shouldn't say evolved, right? Objects are composed using these primitive types.
Okay, so the primitive types are kind of the building blocks, and objects are built up from those building blocks.
Yes.
And thus, the way the two behave can be slightly different.
Yes.
What we've seen so far is primitive types we can use the equal sign to just allocate information into it, whereas objects have varying different ways to input, whether we utilize it similar to a function like we originally did on this program, or use the initialize, kind of like you were saying with constructors.
Yes, exactly. Objects have these special functions that are attached to them, and constructors. And then in the language, I think there is definitely a sentiment that they should all be unified at some point, right? So whether it's a primitive type or an object, they should have similar syntaxes. So that's why we have this, open parentheses initialization for even integers, primitive types. I don't think that was the case before. And by the way, you can also use equals to initialize objects. We'll learn about that later, right? And they're called copy constructors. So you can use equals. That's the beauty of C++, right? In C++, you can override anything. Everything can be overridden. You can override, give new meaning to the equals sign. You can give new meaning to the times, plus, minus. Everything can be redefined by you in C++. And
kind of bringing it back to this particular point and kind of where we as the collective students are in our current C++ journey, is it imperative for us to decide whether or not we look at ISS as a variable or a function, or we don't need to necessarily name it as long as we understand its functionality?
As long as you understand its functionality, it's fine. You can choose a name that you think is intuitively suitable for it. And then you can just treat it as an object that is initialized. The only thing you need to know that's funky in its syntax when you declare it as a variable is that constructor initialization, right? By the way, there is no such method for string streams called initialize with. In fact, that is what the constructor does, right? So the constructor is called by default whenever you say ISS, open parentheses, and then user input. So put it back to the way it was. Right. And then get rid of the int and 10. All right. So is everybody okay with that? Now we created an object, initialized it with user input, right? And then we're reading from the object into user number. Well, I'm talking about objects, and we haven't covered objects so far, but we've been using objects all along, right? So it doesn't matter. So right now we are in using mode of these objects. So we don't spend a great deal of time trying to figure out the construction semantics. All right. So, all right, now we've got the number. What do we do now? We've got the number that the user entered, right? Now, what do? We want to check if the number is a secret. Yes?
Yeah.
If user num equals reference num, is it reference num? What do you call it? Or num input. Yeah. If user num equals, num input, then you say return true. Oh, all right. Okay. Now, when do you return false? Now, you don't return false because this particular version of the function only gives the user one try. Yes? Because it, call the function, it'll ask, it'll print the prompt, ask, get the number, compare, yes, true or false. That's it, right? But we want to give the user like 10 tries. So we're going to put this in a loop. So above the cout statement, open a for loop, right? For, blank line after, blank, yeah. Great. Okay. Yeah, now put the whole thing in there, and I think it should auto indent. Let's see. No, it didn't. Right. Now, give me a blank line before the for loop. Separate the body of the program declarations. Okay, now, so this is going to be in the loop for 10 times. 10 times it's going to ask the user. And if the user hits the right number at least one time, right, in the 10 times, it'll say, okay, you're done. I'm returning true. What happens if the user never got it in 10 tries? Then the for loop will never get into that. You never get into line 17, right? You only get to line 17 if the user entered the right answer, right number. So if the user never entered the right answer, you would never hit line 17. So which means that you'd go from 0 all the way to 10, and you'll come out here, and there you return false. All right, that's all. All right, now I believe that program should in fact work. Let's just run it in your head first, right? Let's all run it in our heads, find out if there's any errors. Let's fix it. Okay, all of you guys, please run it in your heads, find out if there's any issues. Let's fix it. Maybe there's include files. Take a look, Daniel.
You need ctime and cstdlib for randomization.
Okay, all right. But clean out the blank lines first before you fix that Daniel thing. Okay. Yeah, and then include ctime. Or no, I think it's just time.h. Go right to the top. Yeah, hash include time.h. And then next line.
I think both are syntactically accurate.
Like that?
No, I think it's C time. No, I think time dot. No, not C stdlib standard library. That's where random is. Rand, right? C stdlib. C stdlib.
Yeah, you see, both versions still work because it's just considered by convention. You usually use the C prefix version because that's the way that C++ is said. Like before, you did everything with the .h, but now
that's fine. Don't worry about that. All right. So we just have the include files ready. Put it in there just so that the compiler knows about these functions. Yeah. And and very soon I'll talk about why you need those include files and what the declarations are. All right. So run it now. Let's see if it works. Compile it.
Sorry. So the rand is that comes from the cstdlib or we need both time.h and stdlib4rand to work.
You know what? But that's what I thought last class too, and I forgot now. I think time already includes standard library. So if you just had time.h, it should work. But you know, it doesn't hurt to put that other one in. So that's why we did it. We don't want to save a little bit of time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Should I run it?
Yeah, run it. Okay, now it's pick to number. Well, why don't someone other than Sumit, who wrote the program, and you know, Daniel, Andrew, and all these other people, right, who've chimed in before, someone who hasn't chimed in before, and you know, they didn't write the code, at least they should run it, right? So they should participate in it. So go ahead and take a guess. Try and guess the number that Sumit has picked.
5.
All right, 5. Mohammed said 8. 8. Mohammed said 8. Nobody else? No other guesses?
7.
Nobody wants to even play this game?
7.
Okay, I got 11 and 3.
9.
Oh, Sandeep said 11. Sandeep, how could you possibly get 11, man? All right, you can't get 11. Can you get 11?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Someone said 7. You got 7, 9. My gosh, we didn't get it. All right, I'm going to get it. Oh, you got it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's try it again. Try it again. All right.
Okay.
I bet I will get your guess in a maximum of 3 guesses. Okay. Just give me 3 guesses and I'll get it.
Okay.
3? Is it? Log to the base 2 of 10 is 3, is it? Oh, actually, I can't. There's no guarantee because we're not doing less than greater than. But I'm going to try because I'm going to be brave and say, give me 3 guesses. Okay. Let's try 3. All right. Let's try 7. Yay! There you go. I read your mind, Sumit. You know, from here, sitting in my room, in my home, I just read your mind. Okay, I got 7. Cool. Yeah.
In terms of the wording, between 0 and 10, should we change that to 0 between 0 and 9?
Yeah.
You fiddle with the cosmetics of the program. Okay. Now, if everybody is okay with this, we could take this to the, you know, I can talk about some of the nuances about of function calls. Well, we still haven't talked about the way in which we pass these function parameters because we can do a couple of experiments. We had time, right? And then I can talk about the underlying theory and stuff later. You want to do a couple more, not new functions. I'm going to take these functions. Well, we'll create a brand new program, right? We'll create a brand new program and we're going to do some experiments. Okay. How about, all right, let's say that this experiment is concluded. So it's like one nice self-contained, you know, pod on YouTube. You can say, hey, go to, you know, 17 minutes and watch this nice game that Sumit created. I want someone else to now take the screen and create a template just like Sumit did. We're going to walk through the code just like we did before, right? Create a new program, with a new function, and we're going to do an experiment. I'll talk you through the experiment, and we're going to try and run it and see what happens. And then from the results of the experiment, I'll explain, right? A nice little concept, okay? So how about that? Who wants to go? Now, we don't want to waste like 100 minutes just trying to figure out who wants to go, right? Someone just chime in here in the chat window saying, I want to go now, okay? So yeah, tell me in the next 5 seconds. Someone other than these people who have already done the demo, say, yes, I want to try it, right? Try, you know, these things, if you're brave, you get points. If you're brave, I will remember you when it comes to doing participation points. Okay, so someone say yes. You know, it's not like you're going to code. We're all going to code. I'm going to go through you, right? So Andrew and everybody's going to code. We're going to walk you through this thing, like Sumit just did. Someone just volunteer. All right, looks like people have just taken off now. Was it Sumit's really boring demo that you guys said, okay, I'm not going to watch this shit? You took off? Come on, right? I mean, so come on, someone do this. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to remember everyone here who I asked to, you know, who was in class today, and then just sitting by and like scaredy cats not coming out there. I'll remember the ones who actually did come and demo their code. Okay, so
I would have done, but I'm giving the chances to others because
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I want new people to do it. I want everybody to be I don't want anyone to be afraid. I don't want anyone to be afraid, right? You never learn things by being afraid. Augie, you've been here before, right? You've been on the stage before.
Anyone that is like worried, anyone can do this from scratch. You can just load up a web browser and load up REPL.it, and you'll have a blank screen, and we can all walk you through just the typing of the code. You just have to type out. It's just good practice to type out what.
Yeah, it's totally good practice. Totally good practice. Yeah, listen. Yeah. So listen to what Andrew just said. You know, I mean,
like, don't be worried if like you don't have an IDE, or even if you haven't even done any coding. Like, we can help you kind of get your first fingers on coding.
Yeah, do it. It's like, you know, it's one of those Red Bull challenges, right? So people jump off these cliffs. Right? I want to do it, you know, bungee jumping, right? So you should try and do this, right? This is this experience. This is incredible experience. You know, you're about to bungee jump, you feel your heart pumping away, right? I bet you have the same kind of experience now, right? So relish it just before the roller coaster takes off. Relish that experience, that, you know, your heart and your throat. So do that. Come on. You just need a browser. And you need to share that browser screen. Okay. Take your time for, you know, not take your time. All right. So if nobody wants to go, Augie is going to go, and we'll move forward. All right. Is that Augie? No, that was Andrew. Okay, Augie, take the screen. Okay, so create the template like before. See, that's what we're doing, right? Every time we open up the editor, we create a template. Okay, now, all right. Well, your font is like too tiny for me. You know, I mean, you got to increase the font size. Is everybody else able to read the screen comfortably?
Like barely.
Yeah. One more Control Plus. Yeah, I can read it, but I'm pretty sure the other people will have.
much better.
Much better. Thank you. All right. Okay. So here we create a test function, right? So create a test function at the top. We're going to say make it void function, meaning that the function is going to do something, but it's not going to return a value to you, right? So test. Yeah, call it test if you want. Okay. Now it's going to take a parameter. Take an integer parameter, n or something. And no, just call. Yeah, okay, call it param. Okay. Now you want to, as soon as the function is called, here we're doing it bottom up. See, so as the function is called, you're going to say I got, right. See, see out. See out. Yeah. I was passed. You know, this function was passed. You know, called with, and then give it the value of param. Is everybody following along? Right? My chat window disappeared again. Are people following along? Is this useful? You know, I know it is useful for me. It's useful for Augie. It's useful for a few people who are watching. But is this useful for everybody? Right? Are you guys deriving any value or benefit from watching us code?
Very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You should also come and code, by the way. All right. So then you'll find, you know, 10 times the value. All right. Now what you want to do is increment param. Say add 10 or 15 or something to it. Param plus equals some value. Yeah. Now say next line you say see out, no param equals. All right. I think you need a namespace at the top because it doesn't know what cout and endl. Yeah. No, namespace. Using namespace standard. And then no double colon. It's just a semicolon. Okay. Now that's all this function does, right? So that's all. So you can get rid of the blank lines and close up this function. And even the first one, yeah. Okay, now from main, you're going to call this function, but before we call that, yeah, get rid of that. You're going to say int n equals 10. Okay, now say cout n equals, and then the value of n. Right, now you're going to call your function, pass it n, call test, and give it n as a parameter, n, right, semicolon. And now you're going to copy the line 13 and put it there again. Yeah, n now equals. Okay, now you put in a return 0 at the end of main. Now, this function, so you're going to see some interesting things here, right? And then we can ask, why didn't what I expected to happen, right? And then we'll go and fix it. Okay, so n equals 10. That's and point that which line does the first output come from? 13. Yeah. So line 13 printed n equals 10, and then immediately it goes into the test function. And the test function says I was called with 10, which is also correct. Yes. And then it increments the parameter. In fact, let's even make it more interesting. Just change the name param to n. Just right click on it and say, no, not there, not there. Yeah, in the parameter list. Yeah, rename, yeah. If it has the same name, right? You can even have the same name, it doesn't matter. Change that to n, yeah. How come it didn't do anything? Yeah, rename symbol, n, enter. Oh, that's funny. Why didn't it do it? Oh, you can't do it in the parameter list. I think you got to do it outside of the, called with. Maybe there, yeah. Try that. Oh, that's funny. It doesn't have.
Maybe it's confused with because you have param as a variable as well as in the actual text output.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it should have been able to parse that quite easily. Yeah. And now n is, not param is. Okay. Also, when you have a called with, prefix that line with test colon. So you know that the output is coming from the function and not from main, right? So yeah, test colon. Okay, and also n. Now n is also, right? Or you say inside, or you say inside of test, inside test. There, test colon, change that to inside the test function or inside test. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. And then the same thing with the other one too. No, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, all right. So run it. We should basically see, this new output. Okay, so inside the test, it was, it says I was called with 10, I incremented 24. Now it's, and then it says, passes control back to main, and main says, what is the value of n? Hasn't changed, it is still 10. Now, so this is very important to understand very clearly, because we're going to change that behavior right now. Now, this is what is called call by, can you fill in for me?
Call by reference.
This is called call by copy or call by value.
Oh yeah, so this is call by copy. I thought you were saying what we needed to use, which is call by.
Yeah. So this is call by value, which says that when I call a function, don't give it the actual object that I'm going to, but instead give it a copy of the object, so that that guy can go ahead and play with it as much as they want, but it doesn't affect the original, because I got the original. I'm not passing the original. I'm taking a copy of the original and giving it to the function, right? And saying, yeah, this is what you need to do, right? And now but the disadvantage of that is not a disadvantage. It's a feature, really, right? So feature is that it's all well and good for functions that don't need to change the value, right? Don't need to change the thing that you're giving in to the function. If, in other words, if you want to, if you want to send a number and say, well, you got to do something based on this number and do all that, do your job, and then it does a job and it's void, it doesn't return anything. You don't care. You don't care if the value is changed or not. Now, in certain cases, we want the value to be changed. How do we do that? So if we want the value to be changed, then you say, I'm not going to pass the parameter by copy, not by copy or value, but I want to send the actual parameter itself. Send the reference to the parameter, not the actual parameter. We can do that by changing the syntax very slightly. Okay, so where you have test int n, you say test int space int ampersand n, right? So some people put the space before the ampersand or after. So say int ampersand, because it's a reference to an integer. There's some subtleties around this and pointer notation. We'll cover that in week 11 maybe. So some syntactic issues. It's nice, interesting things. Right. So all right. Now, if you try and run your program, you should actually say 24. Now you see what happened was that the value that n, the main, right, the main function sent to test was not a copy, because if the copy changes, the original doesn't change. But in this case, by putting the ampersand there, n is being passed by reference, meaning that now the actual value of n is being passed. If the function fiddles with n, the original also changed. Now, this is a very, very critical and important distinction. Now, do you guys understand this or not? Yeah, and it's like super duper useful. Now, you may be thinking, why do we have these two different things? Why do we have two different kinds of passing parameters? What is the possible use for it? Why would I need to have the ability to pass by reference and also by copy? Can someone tell me a situation where you need to pass by reference?
In a situation, I know of a situation where you need to pass by copy.
Yeah, but when is a situation where you need to pass by reference?
Well, if you need to mutate n, like in a constructor.
Right, but if I want to mutate n, it's just a simple variable, right? And I can also make a void test return the integer that's changed, and I assign. I could say n equals test of n, right? On line 14, I could say n equals. So I can make it return the value. So give me another good reason why there is real utility for passing by reference.
Well, if you need to mutate multiple values.
Good. Okay, that is one possible explanation, and it's a good explanation. Thank you, Daniel. All right. So one way would be, if you have a function, just return the value. The functions can only return one value, right? So if you need a function to do something and then return like 5 different things to you, there's no way you can get it by, just getting a return value. So in that case, what you would do is pass 5 containers, 5 reference parameters, and then the function will do its job, take the results, and then put it in 5 containers, right? It won't return anything, just put the things in the 5 containers, but you have the 5 containers, right? You sent the original 5 containers. So now you got 5 return values. from the function instead of just one. So that's one reason for doing that. There's also another really, really strong and powerful reason, right? Why we would pass by reference? Can someone tell me that? Think about it, right? Maybe you don't know, and I wouldn't expect you to know because you haven't really coded a lot yet, but you will very soon. Run into a situation where you are thinking, oh my God, I need to have this, yeah?
You could potentially need the manipulated data before a function completes?
Well, no, you can't. You don't even get control back until the function completes. You only get control back after the function completes. Yeah? I see. Who said that? Maybe Andrew. Andrew said that, right? So you need the manipulated data before the function completes. Actually, you know what? That's a very good observation, and I think it is right. I should take back what I said, because you could technically pass something by reference and have it happen in a background thread. You can just call the function and then just background yourself. The other functions, in concurrent execution, right?
So yeah, I was thinking something like a function embedded within another function that may need to still manipulate the same container.
Yeah, but that is not possible because in linear, not concurrent, right? In linear coding or linear execution paradigms, when you've called a function, you don't get control back until the function is finished. The function has to complete, and only then you get control back.
But let's say, so my thought process was, let's say we had some parameter n, and we begin manipulate it with function A, but embedded within function A, we call function B, that then also manipulates.
But how would it have? How does it have access to that variable? Because if you're calling, because this was a parameter, automatically is only a local variable. It's only visible within the function. A parameter is only visible within the function. You're saying, I'm going to call test2 from test1, and then test2 should manipulate n. Yeah? That means test2 will also have to be passed n by reference. I see.
Isn't that our point? Our point is to point out when we would want to pass by reference.
Yes. But yes. So we can passing by reference allows us to access the variable, but why do we need to do that? I think my question was phrased incorrectly before. Why do we need that facility? Why? And you said, if there's another function that needs to access that, okay, we could make a case for that. I think that's a tangential reason. The real reason, one of the really strong reasons why we need passing by reference is that sometimes I need a job to be done, but I cannot, the object that needs to be worked on is so big or is unwieldy, it's not even feasible to copy the object, right? So if I have a home that needs to be painted and I want to call this painterman function, right? Painterman, come and paint my home, right? I can take a copy of my home and give it to that person and say paint it, right? I got to say, right, here's a reference to my home. My home is located at this address, go and paint the home. That's what we say, right? So then I'm passing the home to the painter by reference, not a copy of the home. So so sometimes you have a big object, really big object, and you want to make changes. So suppose I have a movie, right? I have a movie, right? I just downloaded a movie from Netflix, and then I want to process the movie. I want to say, hey, this movie has, pick a famous actor, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson or someone, right? So we say, I have this movie with Scarlett Johansson, and I only want to watch the scenes where Scarlett Johansson is, right? So I don't want to watch. So I want to use an algorithm to go and look at all the frames, and then tag all the frames where she appears, so that I can, like this YouTube video, right? So you go and clip Andrew's code and so on, right? So I can pass, I pass the whole movie, but it would be very wasteful to say, I want to pass you a copy of the movie, go ahead and process it, and then give me the time marks where Scarlett Johansson appears. So it'll work, but it's very wasteful because I'm going to pass 5 gigabytes of data just to get these time marks. It would be easier if I just said, honestly, you're just going to look at the data. You're not going to modify it. So I'm just going to give you the whole movie, right? I'm not going to make a copy unnecessarily. I'll give you the whole thing, but look at it and then, and then do your job. Even though you're not going to be returning something to me through the reference parameter, I'm still going to give it to you by reference because it's going to be wasteful to copy the whole thing, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that is another hugely common, right? Hugely common reason why people pass by reference. However, that has a danger, right? Because anytime you send the original to someone else, what is the risk? Right? I say, here's my address.
You
Go
can
and
lose the original data.
Yeah. So I could
Let's
say,
say, let's say that painterman function and he paints it completely, your house completely wrong, then you don't have your original house.
yeah. So that person could basically screw around and, you know, mess up what I gave them. So how do you get around that? Now C++ says, okay, well, I understand that sometimes you have this big ass object that you want to give someone, right? And you don't want to create a copy, so you give them the actual object, but I can make sure that, you know, that person doesn't touch your object, right? Even though they shouldn't do it, how can you enforce it? So C++ says, here's a nice way you can do that, where you say int ampersand n, just turn that to const int ampersand n. Right? Now if you run it, the compiler won't even compile your code for you. You see that? So now C++ has given you a feature where you can take big data, not even copy it and send it to a function. You can send the original over, but you can mark it as const, which means that the compiler that has your back, your compiler has your back, right? It will make sure that whoever is touching that piece of data cannot modify it. It's tagged const, so it can't be changed. Now you may be thinking, yeah, okay, it's just one function, I can handle this, right? But no, the way that the compiler is designed is such that the compiler now knows that function is tainted, right? That variable is tainted, saying it cannot be changed, or tagged, not tainted, right? Tagged. That means that if this function now calls another function and passes n to that function, the compiler can track it. The compiler can track that variable no matter where it goes. And then that variable itself has the word const painted on its face, right? So no matter where the variable goes, the compiler can track that for you and say that nobody is allowed to change that variable.
Would one application of that be, for instance, let's say we were doing a program where we're doing measurements of circles, and we calculated a constant variable for pi. We didn't want pi to be manipulated, but we wanted to utilize pi in our calculations. Is that one application of that const function?
Yeah, you could, but technically, I mean, typically people don't use it for trivial cases like this because, you know, pi and single variables, it's cheaper to actually just get the return value and things like that. Most of the time when you do this is when you pass an entire object over, right? An object that is not trivial. It may not have to be like a huge movie, even an object like 50 bytes or 60 bytes.
But
right?
I guess the core of it is we don't want the original object manipulated, but we need that object to make manipulations to possibly other variables.
Yes.
That's why we need that information.
Yes. Basically, it becomes a read-only variable.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So const basically makes things a read-only variable, and then the compiler, once you tell the compiler the variable is constant, it'll track it to the end of the earth, right? No matter if this function calls another function, that function calls 10 other functions, right? And somewhere deep in the tree, you know, the call tree, somewhere some function doesn't even know, right? If that function tries to manipulate the variable, the compiler will say, no way, you can't do that, man, because, you know, that function said it was const, and that's where it came from. So nobody can do anything to this. This is cool, right?
So just to drive the point home, without const and without the ampersand sign, it's as if we're passing copies of a document to multiple people to look at, and they can edit it, but our original copy is still intact. When we add the ampersand sign, we are in essence sharing the same file.
Yes.
And then when we add the const, it becomes a read-only.
Yes. Now, these are very, very incredibly important concepts to know. And so we shouldn't really cover any more information today because this needs to settle in properly. And it will not settle in properly. I can guarantee that, right? I can guarantee that it will not settle in until you do about 10 or 20 experiments of your own, right? Like this, like what Augie just did. Not the same thing. Obviously, take what Augie did and then make modifications. You know, as we were talking, as you would have noticed, right? Augie went in and changed all these things. right? He was playing around and introduced test2 and all these other functions. Do exactly that. Take a copy of this program and then play with it. Create test3, test4, pass by ampersand, pass by reference, don't pass by reference. Do all kinds of experimentation. You can't break anything. You can't break anything, right? Even if the server crashes, it's not your server. It's some server somewhere in Italy, I think, right? I don't know. But you shouldn't try and crash servers. But still, you can't. You can't play around with it, and I think you'll find this hugely useful down the road. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. What time is it? I didn't realize it was already. Oh my gosh, it's 10 o'clock already. I'm sorry. Yeah, I took up a lot of your time. But I think we had a good class today. We covered an important concept. So type in yes if you managed to stick around until now and managed to get something useful out of class today. All right. All right. So 5 people found it valuable. 6. All right. Oh, all right. Lots of people. No? Oh, yeah, lots of people. Thank you so much. All right. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Hopefully tomorrow, I'll try and think of a few interesting programs that you can write and then share on Thursday, demo in front of class, okay, in front of your classmates. I really want the people who haven't displayed their, programming chops on screen. Doesn't matter if you're not an expert, okay? In fact, if you're an expert, you should not. That's why I'm saying people who've been up here before, they should not volunteer unless there's nobody else, right? Those who haven't done it before, if you come and present your code and you're brave enough, I'll make sure that it's worth your while, okay? Maybe you won't see it immediately, but when it comes time to get your grades, you say, oh my gosh, I did much better than I expected to, then you'll know what the reason was, okay? All right, thank you so much. I enjoyed class today. I wish we could have covered more, but really this stuff needs some time to settle, right? Time to settle into your brain. Thursday, I think, will be a good time to pick up where this leaves off, and then we can talk more. Thank you. Muhammad, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, bye guys. I'll post the video. Augie, make sure you watch the video and put the time mark in there, okay? Saying this is where you can click on this and you can watch your code. All right, bye.